2 of What If released this morning on Disney+. It starred Chadwick Boseman, Michael Rooker, Josh Brolin, and Jeffrey Wright. The episode follows what would have happened if Yondu had let his crew pick up Peter Quill on it, and they made a mistake and picked up T'Challa instead of Peter Quill. So, before I get into it, just remember to like and subscribe and follow DM Reviews on Twitter. Link should be in the description. Also, don't forget to check out Demera Commissions in the Discord server below for great thumbnails, profile pictures, phone backgrounds, and so much more. Alright, so this video will probably contain spoilers for episode 2 and 1, so if you haven't seen, maybe not 2 until the very end. So only for episode 1 there will be spoilers, episode 2 there will not be spoilers. So, alright, so my thoughts on episode 1 really quick were, I really wasn't a fan, because I think the show should be rewriting like the events of so many different MCU projects, and instead it just focused on this one. I was hoping that it was just like establishing the rules of what the show was, and then later episodes would kind of keep going into other portions of the MCU universe, and they would like affect a lot of crazy things, and they would affect the entire universe. And I'm really glad to say that this one does that. It's so much better. Like, it understands what the show should be. Like, it should be showing how one little decision, like Yondu picking up Peter Quill himself or letting his crew do it, will change, everything. Like, so this episode does a lot to show how, this, especially based on the last scene and just one character who's in it, who in the MCU had a huge impact on the entire world, and in this one, they're a completely different person. And that's just because of T'Challa. And one thing that's got me wondering was the difference between T'Challa and Peter Quill. Like, if T'Challa was able to get this person to be a good person and get all these people to do good, then how it took Peter Quill years to get some of these people to not be bad. Like, it kind of makes you wonder if like Peter Quill maybe was just put in like a perfect situation in life, and if it wasn't for that, he probably would have been a bad person, which definitely is hinted at the very end. So it's interesting to think about. I think it's just that T'Challa's just such a great person, and that's what they're showing. Not really to do anything on Peter Quill. That's what I thought of it as, but it's kind of interesting to think about. I really liked that they showed a bunch of Easter eggs, which I'm not going to get into, but they're just, if you look at the background, there's a couple weapons that you'll recognize, and with one character. And I kind of like how they were showing that, just to show little Easter eggs on how this one decision could have been so different. And then there was there was just a lot of stuff like that where they showed stuff like this, and then you were like, oh my gosh, wait, this would be that different, and it didn't even actually affect the story. Like, they just put a little Easter egg. And this will be a tiny spoiler, like a little scene that doesn't affect the plot much. So I do recommend watching this episode. It's a lot better. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. So now I'm gonna get into spoilers. So at one point they talk about Skrulls, and Taserface kind of laughs, but he's clearly worried. I definitely think he's a Skrull there, and I wonder if this is only in that timeline or if it was also in the MCU timeline. And it's very interesting to think about if he has been a Skrull. I don't think he is. I think this is probably just in that timeline, but if he was, I like how they're kind of using this to give a different light on things that already happened in the MCU, even though this is not in the proper MCU timeline. And I really like that they're doing that with the show. So, this episode, I said I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's so much better than the last one, and I really recommend watching this one if you gave up on the show after the first episode, because it is a lot better. So make sure to go watch it, and comment what you thought of the